number. I'll find a way to get him on this show. Hey, just so you know, though, hoping to be out in the Tampa area late December. So that might be, if you're in the area, hopefully we can get together finally. How's that sound?
That'd be great. I'd love to see you out there.
We'll see if we can find a way to make it happen. Mike, once again, thanks for being on the program. I appreciate it, and we'll definitely be in touch soon. And happy Thanksgiving to you. All righty. All right. Thank you. Bye. So obviously, we talk about the Don Cherry thing in more depth, and when you talk about certain guys that are trying to stay in the public eye, that's one way to do it.
Yeah, podcasting is for sure the new medium in which people, look to get their message across. So, I mean, he's not wrong to go into the podcasting world. It just shows he still has the energy to continue to give his opinion on certain things, though. And like I said, he's going to have more leeway in the podcasting world because the regulations aren't as stringent as they are on national television. So he's more free to say what he says, but in my opinion, he should honestly tamper down a lot of the political talk.
Right.
It's not appropriate for what he's trying to do. He should just emphasize hockey because that's all he knows. I value that opinion more than I do his take on social policies. I'm not concerned with anything he has to say in regards to that, and I'm sure 90% of the people who listen to him aren't.
Yeah, I'll make a relative comparison, okay? And I mean relative comparison that you'll understand, okay? When you compare Dick Vitale and Don Cherry, you got guys that coach in the league that became well-rounded announcers is what you've got. Mm-hmm. But I'm talking about a relative comparison.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Vitale, and with Vitale, the good thing you get with him is you don't hear a lot of this social banter that we've seen lately with Cherry. He is strictly, he's basketball, and that is his specialty, and that's what he prefers to talk about. And more power to him for being able to do so, and not trying to make leeway and talk about other things, outside of that. He knows, where he knows time and place, and when it's right to say something and when it isn't, and that's probably, the biggest trick to Vitale's longevity with ESPN and where he's gone throughout his entire career.
Yeah, well, again, when you're talking politics, it's one thing. When you're talking about social justice, another. But you're just talking, that's what you're talking about. We're not talking about a guy that went out there and criticized an entire city here and made things like that. That, to me, is not relevant to conversations about an individual who's riding a subway versus talking about an issue on national television.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I know what you're talking about. Totally understand it.
That's it.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I know exactly what you're referring to. But, in regards to, Cherry, yeah, look, I said it once, I'll say it one more time before we move on to our next guest, and it's this. Know where you are, be conscious of where you are, and if you know that if you know that you're talking hockey, again, that's all that people are tuning in to listen to. Sports are a distraction for all the terrors and ridiculousness of outside life. So,
well, with that said, okay, we have Damon Knight to the program, and Damon, obviously we just had a hockey conversation, but you're going to be talking something entirely different than that.
Yeah, I'm going to switch over to basketball. Europeans, they love hockey too, but they also love basketball with Luka Doncic, especially with the Dallas Mavericks. He's just been tearing it up. Last night against the Spurs, he had 42 points, 11 rebounds, and 12 assists. That is crazy. He is the first Mavericks player to ever record a triple-double with 40 points. He's the second in NBA history alongside LeBron James to ever do that before turning 21. That's just remarkable. The guy's got unbelievable court vision. He's a great shooter, and he's a great facilitator. I've never seen it besides Steve Nash. The guy's amazing.
Yeah, he is, and the Dallas Mavericks obviously had Dirk Nowitzki for a long time, and when you draft that shrewdly, like you draft, then what do you expect? This guy here potentially could be another. This may be way early in the game, but if early indications are being what they are, then you're talking about a guy that could be in big deal long, long time.
Oh yeah. And you know, you look at like Allen Iverson and Jason Williams and Dwayne Wade, great point guards, and he's just a new wave of them, you know, a new wave of bright stars to come. And it's amazing like how many European players are coming over and just making an instant impact. You know, you look at Giannis, you know, and you look at Kristaps Porzingis, you know, even though he's Russian, but just overseas players coming over to America to play NBA basketball. It's insane. It's remarkable. So, you know, I can't wait. His future is definitely bright, and he's only 20 years old.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that you cannot just go out there and look at realize the untapped potential that these European kids, if you hit on the right one, they're unbelievable.
Yes, and Ricky Rubio, he hasn't really, in my opinion, panned out to what he was supposed to be, but you know, he certainly has the skill, and Doncic is just a step above, you know, above everybody else, you know, in a way. So, yeah, it's really exciting to see.
Yeah. So, you want to add anything about this?
Yeah, I think that what's most impressive about him, Damon, is the fact that he's 20, and his slash line so far, his game averages, I have him right here, 29.5 points per game, 10.7 rebounds, 9.3 assists. The guy is almost having a season thus far similar to that of Russell Westbrook a couple years ago, where he averaged a triple-double the entire year en route to an MVP on a depleted Thunder team. I mean, it's amazing what he's doing, and given the fact that he's 20 years old, only makes, you know, the ridiculous amount of success he's had only more impressive.
Yeah, he's just got an amazing skill, you know. He knows how to play the game at a young age. And if he knows how to play the game at the young age, he's not going to have a hard time later on in his career trying to figure it out. You know, he's just going to continue just to break records like they're nothing. And so, you know, there's so many athletes in different sports that are like that age. You know, you look at Jack Hughes with hockey. You look at Juan Soto with the Nationals in baseball.
Right.
It's crazy. It's just, you know, what are these kids eating, you know? So... it's awesome.
So when you talk about Doncic, is there any particular player that he reminds you of?
Mostly Steve Nash, just with the court vision. Steve Nash, you know, he would just backdoor passes, no-look passes, surprising three-ball that you didn't know he had. Just vision. That's who he reminds me of the most.
Well, I mean... Steve Nash is a good player. And few people realize that he's a different kind of foreigner since he's from Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Now he played for Dallas, so you know, Steve's been around. He got
the correlation.
Yeah, I mean there are some interesting comparisons between Nash and Nash. I loved watching Nash play the game. I really did.
Yes. Yeah, and Trae Young is another guy, too, that I just think that the guy is just remarkable, too. Like, I wish we could have him on our team, you know? So,
well, when you trade away draft choices like they do in the manner for which how you mismanage it, and you pay a guy $30 million a year and give up every draft choice on the farm, and you're eating bad salaries, and you're not developing properly, which is why a few people probably have ever heard much about Stan Van Gundy. I don't know what airtime he's getting with ESPN, but Stan Van Gundy to me is the guy's name, unless you're on Miami radio, that you don't hear a lot about anymore, do you?
No, not really. I haven't heard a peep from Stan Van Gundy. I know his brother Jeff does a lot of time on ESPN and stuff with the NBA. And I see him on this, you know, courtside broadcasting games and such. But yeah, I haven't heard a peep from Stan. I see a lot of former players like Dwight Howard and such. But other than that, nothing.
So any other final thoughts that you're going to mention about Doncic? Obviously, you're writing a story for the South Florida Tribune. What do you want people to take out of that story that you're writing for the South Florida Tribune?
Just his overall dominance and like how he's the game look so easy, and I wouldn't doubt if he's the MVP at the end of the season. Just leading, just watching this team and how it runs through him, and he just, with his talent, his court vision, with Kristaps Porzingis, who's a lot like Dirk Nowitzki, which is another asset that the Dallas Mavericks had back then when Steve Nash was there. Just that, and just recognizing his talent overall, basically.
Yeah, I mean, to me, so do you find what do you find to be the strengths of his game?
Oh, definitely his passing. Definitely how he just facilitates the ball. Like I said, he had 11 assists, which that's crazy. And to have 42 points on top of that with 11 rebounds, you don't think of a point guard getting 11 rebounds, you just think that, like, your center, like, Andre Drummond gets, like, 20 boards a night. You wouldn't think that he would get anywhere near close to that just because of everybody is normally bigger than a point guard,
right?
By, like, at least 4 inches. But, so, it's just amazing. He's just an all-around, player in the NBA. So,
well, Isaiah,
really good player.
Isaiah Thomas used to grab a few rebounds.
Yeah.
Obviously, he took it. He used to take a lot of elbows to the face doing it, but Isaiah was a ferocious competitor for sure. So he was able to. That's when I had a chance to watch Isaiah all the time. I had season credentials for the Pistons. That was an interesting time frame.
And he tries to model his game after LeBron James, and that's not surprising. I mean, if you watch LeBron James play, LeBron James is the best player in the league, and so if you try to study him, you're gonna have an easy time in the NBA.
Yeah, well, as long as he doesn't model his social media and his television after LeBron James, the kid's got a puncher's chance. He really does.
He doesn't strike me as the philanthropist or the entrepreneur type personality. He's more of like the laid back, I'm just gonna go play basketball and that's it. He's a lot like trying to think, like Kawhi Leonard is a perfect example. He just I got endorsements, but I'm not gonna go out and make a big deal about it. I'm just gonna go out and play basketball. It's like that.
I love the comparison with Kawhi Leonard, and I was being sarcastic, just so you know, that he isn't taking his talents to South Beach or having a TV show to describe where he's playing basketball. I was just trying to be absolutely sarcastic about it, but I'm glad you brought it up. We can afford to be able to lighten things up a little bit.
Oh yeah, and it's not surprising they brought it up too. It's just he's a 20-year-old kid, and you'd think like the spotlight would get to him in some sort of way, but he's handled it with the utmost professionalism. It's amazing. He's probably wise beyond his years, and so for him to handle it like he has, it's spectacular. So as long as he's got a good core of teammates around him and support, he'll be fine.
All right, well, Damon, as always, you did a great job here, and I look forward to seeing what you bring to the table on Thursday night.
Thank you, Lewis. Thank you, Scoop. I appreciate you guys. Yep.
All right, Damon, take care.
Thanks.
Yep, you too, man. Yep, bye.
So what are your thoughts about Doncic?
It's nice to see, like, obviously coming out of, he came over from Europe, I believe. But, I mean, when we look at a lot of, like, NBA phenoms who come out of college after, say, 1 year. Remember Andrew Wiggins coming from the Jayhawks at Kansas State at 19, and then obviously Lonzo Ball coming over to the Lakers and the fiasco that was. And they don't really do much their first full year in the league. It's nice to see a player like Doncic coming over this young. I mean, 20 years old. I mean, Christ, the dude's younger than me, and he's having the success that he's having, going up against Greg Popovich's very well coached staff over there in San Antonio. Obviously, they don't have the assets they once did in Kawhi, and now Tim Duncan is retired and sailed off into the sunset. But it's impressive. I mean, that's one thing as a sports fan. When you see somebody younger than you doing that, it's unbelievable. But that's just because I'm at that age where you're close to those guys in years. But no, I mean, like, look, if we're the NBA's voting on Rookie of the Year now, this guy's it. It's nice to see somebody who he was past. I mean, Damon didn't get to note it because of how short the segment was, but he was passed off by 2 NBA teams before Dallas picked him up.
Right. So
they found a diamond in the rough there with him. I mean, to get that and to obviously get a triple-double and pretty much average that so far for the first 20 or something games of the season, That's impressive. I think he's a building block for the future, obviously. And a healthy Porzingis is going to make them scary in the West. I mean, they're